I had attempted to do this once before, and it came out absolutely horrible. You can totally see right here about how bad it came out, so just shooting them out here because I have the time and I will. That's why I'm wearing the same shirt and I'm in the same hotel. so so I decided to add to my little list of things to do is the Charmed Reboot. So I'm going to try and do this again. Okay. I'm going to try and do this again. I wrote everything down on my phone to go over all the plots, all the points that I said in the first video because, again, this first video came out absolutely terrible. Even though I loved everything that I talked about. It's just equipment malfunction. Alright. So I wanted to do a little review of the Charmed Reboot because I was a huge fan of the original Charmed. And I wanted to talk a little bit about it. And one of the things that I remember people saying is, don't judge it based on the first episode, judge it based on, at least watch the second episode. So that's what I did. Watched the first episode, and then I went and I watched the second episode. And now I'm doing this little review, so that way it's not all about the first episode. Though most of the points that I talk about are kind of related to the first episode, a little bit of the second. And the other thing that was said, that I've seen said, is don't judge it, don't compare it to the original. But it's kind of hard not to compare it to the original because that's what most people do, especially when it comes to spin-offs. People will compare them to the original. Is it as good as the original? Do I watch it? Do I don't? I know, or at least maybe that's just me, but I know there are some people who do that. Because there are people who are like, oh, well, I watched the original show, but not the spin-off because the spin-off is not that great. Or they watch the spin-off, but they don't watch the original show. Vice versa, because they find that the original show wasn't as great, but the spin-off is so much better. And I kind of feel that's the same way about reboots. I could be wrong, but that's just how I feel. Is that you want it to be based somewhat within the original. Yes, they're two completely different shows, but you want some of the essence from the original to be within the reboot, so that way you can kind of embrace what made you love the show to begin with. And, well, I can't say for, the reboots that are currently on the air right now, like MacGyver, Magnum PI, Hawaii Five-0, Dynasty, because I never watched the original, so I can't base anything I know on the original because I've never seen them. So these are all new shows to me, basically. Whereas when it comes to Charmed, I watched the original show, so I want the original to be somewhat involved in the reboot. Not to say that it's the exact same show, but that the vibe and the feel that I got when I watched the show is still within the reboot. And one of the things that I feel is not within the reboot is the fact that they're sisters. Because the reboot starts off with two sisters and then an older sister who was given up. Now these three sisters are kind of put together after their mother's death, and suddenly it's like they're supposed to form this bond and become the all-powerful Charmed ones. It doesn't feel right. Because even and yes, I am going to be comparing certain things, but even in the original Charmed, after Prue died, when Paige came, she didn't automatically embrace the sisters. You know? She's like, I can't. she realized that these were her sisters and she had to kind of get to know them, but she still stayed away and embraced the magic part, but didn't really embrace the sisterhood until later on, because she didn't grow up with these girls, you know? She didn't grow up with them, she's just finding out about them. She didn't even know she had sisters. She didn't even know, she had this whole family that was here, but like basically abandoned her. Not because they wanted to, but because there was the rule that witches and white lighters can't get together, and that's what happened. Is Paige's mother, Patty, ended up with her white lighter. They had Paige, and Paige had to give her up. Paige had to give her up. Patty had to give her up, so that way Paige could live a happy life. So maybe that's why the mother gave up her oldest daughter, because something happened and she had to give her up to give her a happy life. But it feels weird that the eldest sister is just coming in and moving into the house, and 3 are kind of like instant sisters. Well, maybe not instant sisters, but they're acting a little bit more like sisters than what you would normally think. Like, they are arguing and they are kind of having a hard time, but it's not over the course of time, at least not right now, these 2 episodes. I mean, she moved into the house, and it's like the sisters let her, and yes, it's a nice gesture so they can get to know her, but it seemed a little too fast. Just like the whole they became witches came really fast. The mother died, now they're witches. Maybe she was, casting some spell to give them back their powers when she died, and that's how they got on so fast. But it seemed too clean cut, and happened far too fast, and it was just, I didn't like it. Just like I didn't like the whole white lighter kidnapping the girls and letting them know, oh, hey, you're witches, by the way. It's like, why are you even kidnapping the girls? Why don't you just get them all together at one point, and just simply explain to them, why did you have to go and kidnap the girls? I mean, in this day and age, that's a little creepy. And so I didn't like that factor. Also, the show feels a lot more like 3 witches who happen to be sisters, when the whole premise of the show is about 3 sisters who happen to be witches. Is that right? I don't know. But yeah, it felt more like, this feels more like 3 witches that just happen to be sisters. And that's not the premise of the show, because their sisterhood is what is the power of 3. So if you just have 3 witches who happen to be sisters, it kind of throws off the balance. Or at least what we know the balance is of the power of 3. Whereas the other one was 3 sisters who happened to be witches. And that basically rooted what the power of 3 was. Their sisterhood, their bond. If they were fighting, then their magic wasn't as strong as it could be. But when they came together, they were unstoppable. But that's not what I get the sense is for this, at least for these 2 episodes. Maybe it will change as the series goes on, but it's just what I'm seeing in these 2 episodes. The other things that I was not a fan of is the new power. I don't get why they decided to have the youngest sister have power to read minds. It's like maybe they just wanted to be a little completely throw something completely different than what the original had, because it was power to move things with your mind, power to freeze things, and then premonitions. Now it's power to move things, power of freezing, and power to read minds. Sure, that can possibly help, but I don't. I, I just don't understand it. So maybe it will be explained, or maybe it will be useful later on. But it always seemed like it was when it was brought up in the original, because there was an episode where they had this whole thing to read, they had this whole spell to read minds. It really seemed like it was more trouble than what it was worth. So that's why I'm very confused why they would have one sister use that or have that power. So the other thing I didn't like was the whole doubting the white lighter. I did, however, like that the white lighter was added at the very beginning because, their key role within the story of the Charmed ones. So it was nice that they threw that in there right away. But at the same time, why did you have to make it seem like he wasn't what he seemed, or that he was nice? He wasn't nice, or he wasn't there to help them. I don't get that. And I'm not a fan of that. I mean, sure, be a nice twist, but why throw that right off the bat? Why not wait a little bit longer and then have someone be like, oh, well, he's not really here to help you. Why are you trusting him, type of thing? And sure, I think it got cleared up in the second episode because, it was really just a spirit from the spirit board, or demon from the spirit board, that was messing with the girls, that was saying all this. But at the same time, it's like a seed of doubt now in your head, going like, are we sure he's good, or is he bad and they just want us to believe he's good? Who knows? And then the last thing I do not like about this is the fact that they're using science. I get it. Okay, the oldest sister is a science major. The mother, worked at the same school. But I don't like the fact that they're trying to explain magic with science. I mean, maybe you can do that, but magic is supposed to be mystical, and it's supposed to be imaginative, and not based in science and something you learn every day. So, and I can't get behind that notion that, oh, you can kill a demon with science. It's like, no, that's not, no. I don't like that. So I definitely will not be watching, at least not just for that reason alone, but there are many, like I said in the video, that I did not like, and it's just all these little things together make me really not want to watch the show. And I'm sure there are people out there who do enjoy it, and good on you for enjoying the show, and I hope it continues. I hope it gets better for you. But I know from at least these 2 episodes alone, that it's not something I want to watch. And it makes me sad because I was a really big fan of the first series, the original Charmed, and I kind of wanted to be wrong about the show and that it actually is good, but I can't. I can't watch it. And maybe I'll catch an episode here and there just to see if anything's changed or if it's gotten any better, but for me, it's just I just can't watch it. So, okay, so that's all I have for you today. So, until next time, bye.